Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for joining in to listen to our Let's Talk About series. It's presented by NAMI Juneau and Juneau Suicide Prevention Coalition. And it is in honor of the September as the Suicide Prevention Month. If you've had the opportunity to follow us all month, we will be continuing, but we've had great conversations with the intent of bringing our communities together. So sharing out all of the wonderful services that we have here in Juneau and getting our support services to our community that needs them, as well as our organizations, and knowing how we can do this beautiful lift of work together, and reducing the stigmas that come around mental health and suicide. So those are our primary intentions. And today we have wonderful guests from Central Council, Tlignit Haida, and our elder. So this is from Tribal Family Youth Services, and our first speaker is going to be Amalia. Amalia is a tribal child and family clinician, and she spent the last 30 years living and working in Juneau. We're thankful for all of your service, Amalia. She provides a progressive range of services for tribal citizen and human service organizations. I need to say what brings Amalia personal joy are her achievements, her spiritual ceremonies, her solitude, and her family and friends, and we should all be so blessed. So with one last housekeeping event. I'll make a couple mentions on that, and then we will turn it over to Amalia and our beautiful panel. The first thing I want to let you know is that if you are listening on our website, if you care to join Zoom, there is a closed caption opportunity. So and if you're already on Zoom, you can click the CC at the bottom, that's for closed captioning, and you'll be able to read the transcript. And we want to thank our transcriber for doing that. The other thing is that this session will be recorded, so feel free to hit share with any of your loved ones that are in your circle that might like to hear some of the things that the tribe has to offer us. And finally, we have a chat session or questions, whether you are on the Facebook Live or on the Zoom meeting. So please ask your questions and we will be answering them as we go. All right, well, thank you. And Amalia, I will turn it over to you for now.
Thank you, Tina. Ang klayu hat duasag Tlignit Haida Tlignit Haida yakte hit Junakwan. My Tlignit name means mother of the land in this area. It was translated by Helen Sarabia. And I am Juneau Kwan, a raven dog salmon. So thank you, Tina, for this opportunity to let us talk about the prevention and intervention work that we're doing at Tribal Family and Youth Services. I facilitate the Women's Counseling and Treatment Program, Yek Kawu Shawat, commonly referred to as Women's Group. It was created to provide a culturally based approach integrating Western therapies with traditional Native American spiritual healing practices and emphasis on the Southeast traditional tribal values, creating an environment for healing from abuse and trauma. The entire program has 3 phases, so it's broken into phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. The first phase is called anger, stress, and communication. And it works on the building blocks of communication, including expression, negotiating skills. How do I ask for what I want and what I need? And how do I say what I don't want and I don't need? We look at nonviolent conflict resolution, anger management, problem solving, skills reduction, so coping skills and identifying coping skills and resiliency skills. The physiology of anger was so really connecting the mind, the body, and the spirit, and recognizing that these are integral to one another for our health overall. We look at the cycle of violence, anger as a secondary emotion, societal anger, and much, much more. So the issues of alcoholism, domestic violence, addiction are interwoven through each phase because it is such a relevant issue that is really crippling our Native community. In phase 1, the women are provided with a trauma a trauma assessment to determine, the level and degree of their trauma beginning in childhood. This group runs 12 weeks, and then we go right into phase 2. Usually we have a week break, and then we'll go right into phase 2. Phase 2 is called personal and family development. And so what phase 2 does is it really focuses on the family of origin issues. So the family that we came from, the family that we grew up in, what was happening in that family. So it focuses on that complex and layered intergenerational trauma. Again, we look at domestic violence, abuse, child maltreatment, and past and present relationships. So we begin the group with doing individual genograms. And we start with usually the grandparents, the parents, your generation, and then your children. And we look at what was passed down, what issues are following this legacy in our family, whether that's alcoholism or domestic violence, whatever that might be, we really kind of take a look at it. So we link those experiences from the past, focusing on the relationships that we had with those members in our family of origin, and seeing how they are playing out in our lives today and in the partners that we choose. So for example, it's not an accident or coincidence that you find yourself picking the same type of man or woman. There's something about that. Really dig in and take a look at that. We explore and identify healthy, unhealthy characteristics within our family of origin, and again, how they're impacting our life today. We deepen the discussion of unresolved grief and intergenerational trauma in phase 2. The participants will do the ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences Assessment in phase 2. And then this is also between 12 to 14 weeks, phase 2. We have a little break, and these are the same women going into phase 3. So phase 3, is after about 24 to 28 weeks of intensive work, people's boundaries, trust, and interpersonal relationships are in a much more solid place. And so we begin a deeper examination of what we survived. Phase 3 is a closed group. So participants who come into phase 3 have usually completed phase 2, if not phase 1 and phase 2, in order to be prepared for this phase. There is a screening that women take. It's about 10 questions, and it really helps the participant and the facilitator determine, are you ready for this phase? It deals with post-traumatic stress, so PTSD, disassociation, and continued examination of historical and intergenerational trauma involving childhood sexual abuse and sexual assault. So each phase builds upon the other in terms of its content and its intensity. Native American spiritual healing practices are part of the curriculum. So participants engage in sweat lodge ceremonies, dipping, purification, and other healing ceremonies, pipe ceremony, talking circles, teachings of the medicine wheel, and the 4 directions. The Native culture, as discussed as well in terms of our traditional Southeast tribal values, that those values are a great tool. And I have to tell you, as a clinician, I go back to them and I go back to them and I go back to them. They are a great tool, and they guide so much of the family therapy that I do with families. So if you were to come into phase 1 and you were to complete each phase, you're going to be in group almost a year, just short of a year. And I recognize that's a long time and that's a big commitment, but it takes a long time to change the patterns of a life. So most often what happens is women will say, wow, it's already 12 weeks. I can't believe it. It went so fast. But women are committed. It's an empowerment model. The whole curriculum is based off of an empowerment model, which means that the helping relationship is based on collaboration, mutual respect, and the sharing of power. So it's not one of those, let me tell you what's wrong with you and let me determine the best course of intervention. It's really an equal relationship, again, based on mutual respect. I work with women closely to identify what is it that you want to work on and how are you going to work on this. A lot of times, you know, often people feel isolated. They don't believe that anybody else has experienced what they've experienced. They have no idea how to talk about it. There's a lot of shame around it. And this is trauma that they've survived. So the group is closed for that reason. It's not an open group. Once you're in, after 3 weeks, the group closes. And these are the women that you're going to be working with now for the next 36 to 40 weeks. So it's had great success. It's been around for almost 18 years. And if you participate for 2 consecutive years, again, based on that empowerment model, then any of the women are invited to come back and co-facilitate. Or they are often invited back as guest speakers. So,
wow, that
yeah.
is really intensive. What a terrific program. Amalia, how does how can somebody be referred or sign up, and how has COVID changed this?
Yeah, isn't that something? So individuals, women are often referred through either AWARE has made referrals, Office of Children's Services has made referrals, our own interdepartments have made referrals with Tlignit Haida. So we've gotten referrals from TANF program, we've gotten referrals from tribal vocational rehab, and then word of mouth. So what is happening with Zoom is, you know, when the pandemic hit and we shut down, we went down for about a week and maybe 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And then we were kind of rallying back up. Myself, Kristen, Justin, Crystal, Justin, you know, how are we going to come back and do this? We need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So we started off with conference calls, and then we were able to utilize Zoom as a platform. So we continued to do groups. Just the other day, the women and I were talking about how it has now been 20 weeks since we have had any physical contact. It's all been virtual. But women keep coming back. They're committed. They're dedicated. They want change. They want change for themselves and their families. And they're willing to do the work. And healing is messy work, Tina. You know, there's nothing neat and clean about it. But you really do have this transformation, and it's an honor for me to be able to witness that with women. So.
Thank you. So, and to contact you or the tribe directly, can we put that in the chat box before we leave, so that folks will know how to contact you and to again, whether that's an agency or an individual.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let me introduce Crystal for you, because Crystal, who's going to speak next. Now, she has worked with Tlignit Haida for the past 7 years. And during this time, she has served in many capacities within Tlignit Haida. She has worked for TANF as a general assistant caseworker. She's worked for Tribal Vocational Rehab as a counselor. She is currently working with Tribal Family and Youth Services as an ICWA caseworker and providing the Parent and Education and Family Support Program, which she's going to talk about in just a minute. Crystal is Athabascan and Norwegian from Shuck-Luck and McGrath, but she grew up in Metlakatla, and she was immersed in the Tsimshian culture as a child and was adopted into the Eagle clan. She enjoys spending time with her family and getting outdoors, and a lot of crafting projects and hobbies. She moved to Juneau with her 2 children about 12 years ago, and she's honored to have the opportunity to work with families in the Juneau community. So everyone, I'd like to welcome Crystal.
Welcome.
Thank you, Amalia. Get my presentation up. So I've got a short presentation just giving a basic overview of the Nurturing Parenting program. This is a new program that is being offered by Tlignit Haida. I am just finishing up the second the second session of Nurturing Parenting. After a lot of preparation and meetings and training, we were able to implement this wonderful program. So what is Nurturing Parenting? Nurturing Parenting is an evidence-based parenting program developed by Stephen J. Bavlock in 1983. So it's been around for quite a long time. It's a family-centered, trauma-informed initiative designed to build nurturing parenting skills as an alternative to abusive and neglectful parenting skills and child-rearing practices. It acknowledges that the ways that we were raised and some of the parenting practices that we've picked up from our parents may have not been the best ways to parent children. It also acknowledges that we tend to perpetuate those parenting practices. Sometimes they're not the most healthy practices, and it tries to help people rethink parenting, how to parent in a nurturing way, and to create a nurturing, safe environment for our children to grow up in. So the program is aimed at preventing recidivism, lowering the rate of multi-teenage pregnancies, reducing the rate of juvenile delinquency and alcohol abuse, and breaking the cycle of abuse and neglect by teaching positive parenting behaviors. This program has been implemented around the world. It's also used by the military for their families. So there are 5 constructs of abuse and neglect. These 5 specific constructs were identified as parenting beliefs that lead to abuse and neglect. Nurturing parenting addresses these negative parenting beliefs by teaching parents age-appropriate expectations, helping parents develop empathy. So the first one is inappropriate developmental expectations of children. And so we try to increase parents' knowledge of appropriate developmental expectations and what children should be doing at different stages of life. The second one is lack of parental empathy towards children's needs. This program is designed to help parents develop empathy. The third one is belief in the use of corporal punishment as a means of discipline. So this curriculum really emphasizes different ways parents can employ positive discipline instead of using corporal punishment. And it places an emphasis on non-violent parenting practices. The fourth one is reversing parent-child family roles. Understanding what the roles of parents and children are, so children don't grow up being parentified and resenting that role that was put on them at a young age. And the fifth one is oppressing children's power and independence. A lot of times parents don't think that empowering their child or encouraging them to be independent is really the right way to go about parenting. But we stress that, you know, we want to empower children. We want them to question. We want them to think and problem solve, so they can grow up into confident, competent adults. I say that quite often during my lessons, and that's what we want them to grow into. There are 3 levels of prevention. The first one is primary prevention or education. This aims to prevent child maltreatment and promote positive family interactions and healthy lifestyles. This also focuses on empowering family members and establishing healthy relationships. The second level is secondary prevention or intervention. This can be 12 to 20 sessions. Secondary prevention intervenes at the early stages of family dysfunction. Usually maltreatment has not reached a level of removal, but concerning enough to warrant some form of intervention to prevent escalation. And the third level of prevention is tertiary prevention or treatment. This can be 15 to 25 or more sessions. This level is designed for families that have a high level of involvement with social services due to abuse and neglect. Often children have been removed from the home. Families at this level are in need of structured long-term programs and services to replace damaging parenting behaviors with nurturing parenting behaviors. We focus mainly on secondary and tertiary prevention in Tlignit Haida. Many of our referrals come from our ICWA department, Office of Children's Services. Tribal Court is now sending some referrals, and then of course we get referrals from the TANF program as well. There are 3 program models. The first model is one-to-one in the home, office, or classroom. The second one is a group-based setting. And the third one is a combination of group-based program with home-based session. We have adopted the third model. So we have groups every other week, and in the alternate weeks, I work one-on-one with each of the individual families. Before COVID, I was going into the home and doing home visits and going over a lesson and talking with parents in their homes. But since COVID started, we are doing everything on Zoom. So we have the group setting and the one-on-one sessions via Zoom. It is a competency-based program to ensure that parents are really learning the skills being taught. If parents do not display an understanding or proper utilization of the information and skills presented in the lessons, the lesson is repeated until the competencies have been learned and mastered. We do review the concepts we've learned, and each lesson kind of builds on to the previous one. We do have an assessment and evaluation. We assess to gather information such as current life conditions, childhood, relationships, knowledge of parenting and beliefs parents have about raising children, to learn more about families being served, to identify areas of strength and areas of need. We also evaluate progress of parents and instructors' effectiveness. If skills are not acquired, lessons are repeated, or we talk about it more in depth. Also, at the end of each session, participants are asked to write an essay, a short essay, and prepare a presentation talking about what they have learned in the class, how they're going to apply it to their parenting skills and implement these strategies and techniques within their families. We have a pre and post program assessment and evaluation called the Adolescent Parenting Inventory, which assesses parenting beliefs and practices of adult and adolescent parenting and non-parenting populations. They're designed to assess the beliefs for parenting children from infancy to 12 years of age, provides an index of risk, 3 levels of risk, high, moderate, and low. We do the post-assessment to really gauge the effectiveness of the program. And it helps me identify which areas I need to beef up, I guess. So that is it for nurturing parenting. Currently, I started off doing a 10-week program, but based off of the parenting assessment scores from the first round, I added 6 more weeks of lessons. So now the current program is 16 weeks long. We cover topics. You are your child's first and most important teacher. We talk about communication, healthy boundaries, behavior and attitude management, healthy social and emotional living, trust and empathy, managing anger and stress, problem solving, family roles, child development, nutrition, improving self-worth, culture and spirituality, addiction and its effects on family, positive community connections, and parent and child needs. And we also have a parent's choice topic as well. Yeah, that's nurturing parenting in a nutshell.
Wow. Again, the depth of the programming is just amazing. And I wonder if, so I think you said that you don't do as much on the primary or the first program that you had showed. And I wonder, is that where somebody might volunteer? Like I'm starting to see some dysfunction in my home, and this is not how I want to bring my family up, and can I refer myself?
So right now, I think because of the way we're conducting everything, my time is pretty limited. I have a cap of about 15 families because I do provide one-on-one every other week. So we're focusing right now on the high risk families, at-risk families, and taking referrals from the different agencies, just because it's so limited. And it, it's not to say something else can be implemented in the future, but right now that's the primary focus of this group.
That makes really good sense. And then maybe meanwhile we could clone you.
I love this. It's great. I really enjoy getting to know my families. It's been very hard on me this last session because I don't have that in-person contact, and we're looking at each other over the screen, and I'm like, I wish I could just go to your house and visit and play with the kids and talk with the parents. And yeah, I've gotten to know my families very well, and I'm really thankful, and I really enjoy working with everyone so far.
Thank you. Yes, just thankful to have you as well. Thank you so much, Crystal.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to introduce our final facilitator, speaker, I should say, and that is Justin McDonald, and he is the Community Engagement Coordinator. He has spent the last 10 years in Juneau, working in the human services field with a focus on mental health and substance abuse prevention and support for individuals and families. Justin is a recovering alcoholic and addict. He found sobriety in 1999 and has dedicated his life since then to healing and well-being for the people. And he believes in the concept of healing from the inside out and creating a beautiful life for self and for family. Justin has been providing education and support groups, services in the community since 2010, with an emphasis on the Native population. What brings Justin joy is participating in his cultural ceremonies and traditions and being with his grandchildren, and I am honored to introduce you to Justin McDonald.
Aho, Gunashchish. Idamia. Takchanupa Wichasha Bielo. Mene Wakan Dakota Oyate. Jikutsak Suktanedi. Welcome everybody. Hello everybody. Good morning and or good afternoon. It's an honor to be here. just hearing the description of, what the groups that our program offers, like Amalia and Crystal, they just do such wonderful work, and it's really, powerful for the families that participate in these and the women that participate in these groups. And it's just an honor to be a part of, this family at TFYS, Tribal Family Youth Services, to be able to, have the support that I have through the department. They really support me wholly and, entirely in what I do. And so, we offer a few different groups, facilitate a few different groups, and they're all based on a holistic approach on working at and coming at focusing at the whole, of someone. We like to talk about that as the medicine wheel teachings, on the Red Road approach. The Red Road is like a native-based term or concept of, finding ourselves, finding clarity, sobriety, making a connection with our culture, and living the life that we know Creator designed us to live, created us to live, everybody. And so, and that can be a long, hard road to finding ourselves and getting on this road and learning from our mistakes, and making change within. And as Amalia said, I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict, sobered up in '99. It's been the best decision of my life. And I didn't just stop drinking and drugging and move on in life. I had to do a lot of work with the help of, professional therapy, to work at traumas on the inside, traumas that were, dealt with, that pertain to sexual abuse, physical abuse. A lot of bad stuff happened, just like a lot of, in a lot of our lives, we experienced a lot of traumas. And so, it was getting the help through professional therapy to really help me to learn to open up, to go back into that hell, within myself, to relive those things, bring them out onto the table, dissect them and understand them. And while I was doing that, brought up a lot of emotion, a lot of emotions and anger and sadness. PTSD would flare up, and, and I had a good counselor, that therapist that helped me to calm down and to not run, not to run, that I can make it through this. Tell me how to calm down, and then we'll continue the story. And it's difficult. A lot of people don't want to do that. But then, I'm a product of, living in the village, being, living a life of domestic violence and alcoholism and everything, and attempting suicide about 12 times during my youth. Cake in the early 80s, early 80s had one of the highest rates of suicide. And it was common. A lot of alcoholism, a lot of dysfunction. We're losing people, 1 to 2 people a month. And we were seeing some of this happen. And it just became a community norm. When things get tough, we just go get drunk and kill ourselves. And the young ones are thinking like this. And so, and that's, I can see a whole community can be sick, just like one individual who's holding a lot of trauma. It builds up, you're suppressing that trauma, not working on it, and it affects us emotionally, mentally, physically. If we don't have a spiritual connection, we have nowhere to turn. We don't have a foundation to turn to and have that support, to make positive change. All we know to do is medicate. And a lot of times, we're taking our own lives. And so that's happening in Native country. It's happening all over, not just with the Native country and communities all over, but, the rates are very high, and we have some of the highest rates as Native people of suicide and domestic violence, and alcoholism, addiction, and why is that? It stems way back, to, way back into historical trauma, boarding school times, and even further back than that. So it's something that we've carried on through from generation to generation. And now we need to really fight to make a change. And I like to, and a lot of organizations and people come at this approach as, being warriors. We've went through our hell. Now we got to learn. We have to heal ourselves, and we turn around and we help our people, in any way we can. And so that's been my passion and my path in life since '99, and knowing how difficult it is to carry those traumas, when the triggers come up, all it took is one thought. And this happens to a lot of people, is a trigger of remembering somebody who hurt me, you know, and then it affects my emotions. Then it affects my whole body, and I'm all out of whack. If I don't have a spiritual connection, I'm like a wounded animal, like holding that hot potato, don't know what to do with it, but I can't get rid of it. I'm in panic mode. I'm hurting. What do? I go run and go medicate. Now I'm suicidal. I'm a raging, going into this impairment, this drunkenness and a rage. And so that's been my cycle for a long time. And I'm glad I never succeeded in any of those suicides, you know, but a lot of my friends and people did. And it's sad that none of us want to die. We just don't want this pain. And so we want to deal with this pain. That's been my passion, is to help our people to heal from the inside out as best we can. I don't have all the answers, but we have some ways that have helped me, and I share it with the people. And it's been through culture. Our culture is prevention. Our culture is healing. It's powerful. It's got such a powerful spirit to it. We just need to connect to it, you know. And that's one of the things that really broke, our Native people in the past, was a break in our spirituality. And then all the other things that happened, taking of the language, taking of our different tribal practices, you know. And so returning back to those has been proven all over to really help to start bringing healing back to the people. But our spirituality is one big, is a main factor to it. You know, we're, as Native people, we're naturally spiritual people. Creator gave us the responsibility of the land, and that's why we see things. We have such a connection to the land. We see the trees, we see the vegetation, the animals, the water as all being alive and having a spirit, you know. And so we show that we live and walk in that respect. You know, a lot of us, you know, a lot of our people have gotten away from that, disconnected from it. So it's when we find ourselves, we start to make this connection back to it and understand that. And it helps us to be more grounded, you know. It helps us along that healing path. But, you know, when it comes to the traumas, it really does take a lot of effort, and it is scary and it's very difficult. So people need a safe place to go, to know that where they can, a safety net, a safe place where they can feel safe to come and start to share and open up. But they need to see others leading the way and doing that as well, you know. And so we've created that, and been working on that for a while. We've got a good strong group in the different groups that we offer, and we're all healing together. I'm healing right along with the people. You know, our healing is a work in progress. It's just like those of us in recovery, you know, we don't just go do the 12 steps and we're healed. Right. You know, healing and in recovery is a lifetime journey. And so is our healing in finding ourselves. And some of the groups that I offer are, one is a Sobriety support group. And that Sobriety comes from an organization called White Bison, founded by Don Coyas. He's a Native from down south, and he struggled with alcoholism himself, you know, and found recovery and focused his, you know, rest of his life after getting into that to this foundation and helping the Native people to find sobriety, heal from traumas from the past. And, you know, and it's been quite the journey that he's taken. He's got quite the program going. He's been to Juneau, I don't know how many times. He's been to a small village in Cake, a lot of different villages in Sitka, and all over the United States. So this movement has gone, you know, nationwide. And so Sobriety stands for, it's two words, wellness and sobriety. You know, wellness, I mean, we can, like I was just mentioning, you know, sobriety is more than just stopping drinking and drugging. You know, we can stop drinking and drugging if we don't work on those traumas and those hurts, traumas from the past. You know, at times we'll find ourselves as dry drunks. You hear that phrase, you know, and it still affects us and how we think, how we view the world, how we how we think the world views us, you know. And so, you know, that's just one first part of healing is stopping the drinking and drugging. Then the real work begins with the mental health, finding, you know, working on our traumas from the past. And that's very tough. It's very scary, very difficult. And, you know, but when someone does that, it really clears the way to being able to find peace and serenity within, you know, and find compassion, uncover that compassion. And it's just, you know, it's a beautiful path, a beautiful life when someone can actually do that. And then you see, you know, we got groups like and facilitators like Amalia and what she offers, you know, that really helps women. They, you know, I had some of her women participate in my groups as well, you know, and they always refer to Amalia's groups and you know, as a source of healing, you know, and that they're getting so much from it. And then they interact with participate in Crystal's groups as well, and all of our groups are participating, and we're seeing some real success stories, you know, with some of these mothers that are coming in. You know, some of them are starting from having lost their children and being stuck in a addiction and abuse, homeless, to finally having a vision. Some of them had mentioned that. One in particular, she finally had a vision where she don't want this life anymore. She wants her kids, and she knows she needs sobriety. And so, you know, OCS had gotten involved, you know, replaced the children with family, and so they're homeless, and, you know, and they start working with the system. Go to, you know, one of them went to treatment first, came back, attended Amalia's groups, started attending, you know, a few of my different groups, and, you know, it's nice to see that ladder of progress and success, to where they're coming to the groups, you know, they're being trusted a little more from the system, OCS, you know, so now they're allowing some visitation, supervised visitation, and then unsupervised. And then, you know, they're coming to our groups, and you're seeing them work with their children, do crafts and drumming with their children, you know, in a cultural way. And then pretty soon they're getting assisted, you know, they're getting custody of their children, you know, and then getting assisted housing, and then finally onto their own housing and living their own life and still participating in the groups. That's a beautiful story when you see that, you know, and so that's what our, you know, the power of all these different groups, and really helping, you know, our participants, our people, you know, to heal, do that work and heal from the inside out. So the Sobriety, you know, the wellness is working on oneself to heal those traumas on the inside after we've eliminated the drugs and alcohol. And so that's a native-based group. We reference materials and teachings from White Bison, as well as other teachings from, say, like Tlingit stories. All the stories have, we haven't done it in a while, but we've used them in the past, getting good storytellers in there, and each story has characters and plots that can really help relate to, you know, people can relate to it in their own lives. The struggles, the barriers, everything, you know, everything they have to deal with, you know, to overcome these struggles and barriers, and the beauty after overcoming. So what's beautiful about, you know, our tribal stories, they're like, they're lessons, they're made to help heal, as well as the songs and the language. So, you know, the healing and prevention is in the culture. And so we utilize those teachings, the medicine wheel teachings. We use talking circle, we smudge, we offer prayer. Spirituality we emphasize spirituality, and that's the primary focus of, very important of all our groups, you know, is that spirituality. And so we're offering prayers through verbally, or through song, through the drum, and sharing of different cultures. We have different cultural people and practices participating in each group. And so through those talking circles, you know, someone can really come to really share and share and process, you know, things that they've gone through. So we're not just dealing with people who are recovering from alcohol and drugs, but we got people who are struggling with grief and loss issues from loss of loved ones, or just stressors, you know, stressors from the day or from the week, or, you know, dealing with the systems or what have you. You know, it's a place for someone to come and really get support from others in the group, others in the community, and a place for others to come and just learn how to be of support and hold each other up. You know, that Tlingit tradition of holding each other up.
Mm-hmm.
We're not facing this alone. We're not alone. We have the community here to support us, and it's a safe, comfortable place. You know, when we're meeting in person, you know, we really had the support of TANF, and they're still supporting us. but we'd meet in person at the VTRC building, and they would pay for, you know, rental of the facility, catering. So we had catered food provided for the people, child support, not child support, but words put my tongue, child care, you know, and good child care workers. And so they'd have watch the children in a separate room while the parents were able to focus on themselves. You know, it's a beautiful system until, you know, COVID hit, but we're still able to meet over Zoom.
Justin, I want to tell you that I have worked with young adults that have gone through your program, and specifically one of the words was hesitant to become involved, and then he said it was like gold being lifted off his shoulders, and for the first time he felt like a strong Indian man. And I just, yeah, I want to thank all of you, and I wish we could go on for all afternoon, but it's healing generations, right? That's what we're doing, is healing generations. And I, as a tribal citizen, I want to say goodness cheese to all three of you and for the tribe for having these services. And I'm just overwhelmed. Thank you so much.
Oh, goodness cheese. I know I'm running short of time. I'm getting off a tangent, not even following any of the notes I wrote up. But so the other groups, you know, Fatherhood is Sacred. I do a Fatherhood is Sacred group, and that's on Thursdays. It's a 12-week course. We go from usually 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock. And it's, again, a 12-week course. It's from created by a foundation called NAFA. It's an acronym that stands for Native American Fatherhood and Families Association. Powerful program. They offer probably about 5 or 6 different programs. There's a Fatherhood is Sacred, a Motherhood is Sacred. Crystal was a facilitator, or is a facilitator of Motherhood is Sacred. And so there's a few other programs as well. But this Fatherhood is Sacred program, you know, is a program for fathers and mothers using a Native American approach. The goal of the program is to strengthen families through responsible parenting. NAFA teaches parents to connect with their heritage as they become actively involved in the lives of their families. Very powerful program. I like that, you know, I really love this program because it's actually become, with each segment we do, each session, you know, we're getting new fathers in there. Some are young fathers. We have repeat, you know, fathers that just, you know, like the program, so they repeat it again. And got a good, strong core group of fathers that come and share are learning and sharing from their experience, and are sharing with the younger ones. You know, I'd really love to get the teenage fathers in there at some point, you know, because we're tired of seeing, you know, relationships fail. Why? Because of lack of communication. They didn't have the best parenting examples when they were growing up, you know, and so all that can be saved if we can, you know, reach them and teach them a new way. You know, we're basically it's returning to the teachings of just being able, getting out of our way, finding self-worth, learning how to communicate, you know, letting ourselves be teachable, listening to understand, and, you know, to come at, you know, with compassion with our significant others and our families. And, you know, it just helps to really help, you know, these new fathers, you know, be contributing members of their family and, you know, society. So it's a powerful course, and it's like a support group for the fathers in there. That's what I love about it. We really get in depth with some serious conversation that, you know, that wouldn't come out in dialogue, that wouldn't come out, you know, with females around. And that's exactly what we need. There's not many programs just for men.
Yeah.
You know, and the men need healing. A lot of times we were looked at as men being the problems of the, you know, being the source of the problems, you know, in the family difficulties, you know, but, you know, come to see that fathers are actually a big part of the solution. We don't know that. We lost our roles, you know, in our ways. So yeah, it's just getting back to learning those ways, getting back to our roles, and being those fathers, husbands, and, you know, men that, you know, that our families need and the community needs.
Now, Justin, are these programs that that are men, or if it's in one of the Motherhood is Sacred, are these programs that we can self-refer ourselves?
Sure.
Okay, so and then how do we find out about that? And will you send us literature? When will you broadly announce when the next courses start?
Yes. Yes. I
Okay,
just had a
and
passing in my family. Father just passed. And so I kind of got off, um, our regular schedules of, keeping in time with our back-to-back sessions we're having. So I'll be planning and advertising the next session, hopefully soon.
I'm sorry to hear about your father. I am very, very grateful for all that you bring to our community. If there's anything that we can do to help, if we could be sure to put that information of how to contact you in the chat box, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get all that information to you. On every morning also, we just recently started, we do a morning meditation and devotional reading, and it's just a conference call, and it's from 6 to 7 a.m. We have a good group of people, who have been core group of people that have been coming on regularly. We have people, calling from out of state as well. But it's just a good place, during these times with COVID, you had a lot of people can feel overwhelmed, by fear and anxiety and, and stress. A good way to just reduce stress, good way to start the day with a good affirmations, good meditational reading. We read from a Native American based meditation reading by White Bison. And then people will check in and share and how they're doing. And it's just, it's turning into something, beautiful, a good, beautiful way to start the morning. Sometimes it's tough to get up in the morning, but it's been good. It's been good. And so I'll put the number on as well on that. So we go with the conference call because in the morning, who wants to show their morning face, on Zoom? And then on Friday nights, we do the Intertribal Culture Night. That's from 6 to 8 p.m. Alaska time. Starting to say Alaska time now because with technology and Zoom, we've really started getting people from out of state, from various tribes around the nation that are participating in the Sobriety group and Intertribal Culture. And so it's beautiful to have different tribes calling in and sharing songs and stories and they're learning something about the Tlingit culture and hearing some Tlingit songs and stuff they've never heard before. We have some wonderful elders that get on and speak, and so they're willing to teach. And it's just, we used a drum when we were gathering at the VTRC building before COVID. We were averaging getting anywhere between 40 to 70 people. It was just huge, and again, we'd have childcare, we'd have food catered, and we just share. It's just a good, safe, sober place for people to come. We had all age groups participating. We acknowledge sobriety birthdays, mothers or fathers getting their children back, regular birthdays, just anything, just to uplift and hold each other up.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's just a great place. But we do it on Zoom now, and
it won't be forever. It won't be forever, right?
Can't wait till we can gather again.
Right. So then,
you want to introduce our esteemed elder?
Yes. So, we've been fortunate to be able to have our beautiful elder, and I call her my auntie. We've kind of unofficially adopted each other. We made connection when I was transporting on Thursdays to the Tlignit Haida Elders Exercise and Luncheon Program. So that's where I, first met Lillian, was transporting her to and from her place, and then she's been with us ever since. She'll probably mention something about it, but her husband passed away in 2018, and she's been with us ever since. Almost, I can't even remember if she's ever missed any Sobriety groups or drumming groups, weekly. But it's been a real source of support for her during her grief as well, and she brings a lot to our group with just her being there, her presence, those that see her there, it's just powerful having an elder with us, and we're starting to get more elders. But so her name is Lillian Hillman. Her Tlingit name is Kashawat, and she is the Nakla clan mother for the Daktain Tan clan. Kashawat is the child of Kagwan Tan, grandchild of Chukanadi. Kashawat was born and raised in Hoonah, Alaska. She married her childhood sweetheart in the late Ernest W. Hillman Jr. and had 6 children together, 2 of which are deceased. Again, her husband passed in 2018, and she's been a consistent participant in our groups. She's mentioned many times that, you know, she's used this way as a way to really help her through her grief. And again, she brings us so much spirit and so much spirit to our groups, you know, and support in just being there in the things that she shares with the groups as well. So with that, you know, we'd asked her to be on with us just to have her here with us, you know, as a source of support through this this discussion as well. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kashawat.
I'm more of a listener, and you're all talking so well. Like Justin said, it's helping me through my grief from the loss of my husband.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I'm proud of the people that show up, that say they need help, and Justin helps them. I really appreciate that too. I'm so proud of you for leading us. You're a good leader. That's all I have to say.
Auntie, I'm glad you came on.
Goodness cheese. Goodness cheese. Well, I want to see, I think that our captioner is going to stop any minute here, stop at noon, and we might go over a minute or so in advance. Well, so it'll sign off as far as the captioner is concerned, but if the viewers can listen for a few more minutes, that's great. If not, the rest of this, we're just going to be closing out. And I want to remind you that this has been recorded. Please share with your loved ones that might want to be involved with our groups, or share with your colleagues, other organizations that might make references. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all for being here with us. It means so much. It just means so much. Your work is terrific, and it, like I said, it changes generations. And the business of healing is messy, right? And it does take our warrior stance. And there's a lot of conversation about connections to our culture, connection to each other, right? This is what we need. We need each other. So for that, I say Gunish Chish. And I look forward to hearing more about your work and working more in the future. So with that, I am going to talk about what's coming up. We've got, for the rest of this week, what we've got is we have the, tomorrow we've got a section on youth mental health, and it talks about hearing what they don't say. And then we'll also have teaching children mindfulness and encouraging co-regulation. I'd like to invite you to that. Art therapy, domestic violence, and then also I want to remind our veterans that I believe that it's the 24th. It's on our website. I apologize for not having the exact date, but there is a suicide prevention coalition or support group. Yes, it's the 24th at 4 p.m. I want to encourage our veterans and our active duty members to join that group, and it is a support group, much like what we're doing for men or for women or for our parents. So please come out and join us for that. Again, my name is Tina with Juneau Suicide Prevention Coalition. I want to thank you, listeners, and certainly thank our panelists. Hope you all have a great afternoon.